It is a fine Tuesday here on Haki FM, the Oasis of Justice. And you are listening to the Law and Justice Show. My name is Tainjuene, and this is a very special show because I have a guest in studio, and we are going to be talking about matters of insurance. With everything that is going on in the country, this is something you do not want to miss. Talk to me on Haki FM on X, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook, or you can call me on 07993882337 or 07503882337, or you can text me on WhatsApp on 0791740453, and keep those questions coming. And now I'll let my guest introduce himself. Sir, take it away.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
My name is Joseph Gitau. I work for Canopy Insurance Brokers. I am a seasoned insurance broker. Thank you.
Karibu sana hapa Haki FM.
Asante sana.
Okay, so we want to know about insurance covers. We understand that there are very many, and we want to know as much as possible. So the first question, talk to us about the different insurance policies that we have and what they cover.
Thank you. That is a very good, important question. I would first of all say insurance concept. Insurance concept is basically spreading the risk. You spread the risk to a number of people. What it means is that people come together and share the misfortune of the most unfortunate one. So insurance, I would say it's classified into two broad categories. So we have what we call life insurance, that is long-term. And we have what we call short-term insurance. Now these are the property which are renewable on an annual basis. When you look at the two categories, say for example life, there are various products you can find around life. One is they look at safety and wealth creation, and there's security. I want to dwell more on the other category of life, of insurance, which is general insurance. And general insurance has a lot of products. There are products which cover you against the party liability. We call them liability policies. There are those policies that cover your own interest, that is whatever property you own. There are insurance that covers the loss of earnings. We call that category business interruption. May start maybe say, for example, liability. And I will look at, say for example, Haki FM,
Yeah.
where you are hosting someone like me to come and give insurance advice. As a Haki FM, you owe duty of care to the member of public and to your listener, such that whoever comes here, if you make a comment that can be defamatory, then you got a product that you can lean on. This category of insurance is called professional indemnity, and it protects you from any advice or professional advice you give, and anybody who rely on that advice who end up suffering any financial harm. It could be your listeners. So in this case, what I'm referring to is what we call media professional indemnity. I will also look at other type of liability classes, say for example, director and officer. And this is a very key and important policy for liability, because it will look after, those wrongful acts you may cause in the course of your employment when you're discharging your duty. And remember, you are supposed to make decisions. So that is one aspect of insurance. When it comes to the liability, there are quite a number, but I wanted just to mention just a few. There, of course, we have even what we call public liability, which is majority of organizations have, which again, it protects you against bodily injury and the departed property. Those are the liability. Now we go to another section of insurance. Now property. Now property, we look at them again in broad classification. We are looking at the material damage. That is, if, say for example, a property is destroyed. For example, this media house, assuming there is a fire, it's consumed. of course you are going to suffer financial harm because you'll need to replace all equipment. And as you can see, these equipment, they are not cheap. So when it comes to property, therefore, we look at two aspects: material damage, and then assuming this media house goes on fire, it means you'll not have a show the next day. That means then you're going to lose your revenue, isn't it? That you generate through broadcasting and all that. So again, the property, then there is that component of, we call it business interruption. That this is the revenue I could have earned if not for the fire consuming this particular media house. So now property, we have several classes of insurance. We have fire. Under fire, the coverage for fire, it's quite wide. It's not just the frame as people might know it. Fire covers so many other things. It covers malicious damage. It covers riot and strike, but not the riot and strike that are going on. Maybe we'll talk about that later. It covers issue of, you can imagine a strong wind coming and blowing this and tearing apart the building. So that one is covered. We also have another category of insurance under property called burglary insurance. That is theft. But in insurance, theft is qualified. It's not like in legal sense. The theft in insurance is a bit different from theft because the way you look at it in law. Because in law maybe is appropriation of someone's property without consent.
Yeah.
But when it comes now to insurance definition of theft, there has to be other consideration. There has to be forcible entry and forcible exit. For example, if today somebody came and found the door open, come and remove this, say for example, mic and all that. That in insurance context is not considered as theft, because there is that a degree of care that is expected from you, because you are supposed to behave as if you are not insured. So again, when it comes to insurance, when you are looking at, say for example, now theft, you are looking at the building was locked, someone broke into, and stole. So that is again is another category of insurance. In it, we also look at the issue of somebody can just invade here with a gun, so there is nothing that you can do. So that is called hold up. Again, that one is covered.
Hold up does not fall under theft. So
hold up does not fall under theft because, as I said, when it comes to insurance definition of theft, there has to be a forcible entry and there has to be a forcible exit. There has to be an evidence that somebody broke into the building, isn't it?
Yeah.
But when it comes to hold up, someone will come and commandeer you because maybe he has a gun. So meaning there will be no evidence of forcible entry, isn't it? So that is why hold up is treated differently. It's an exception.
And how is the company able to ascertain now
that
there is no evidence?
Yeah, of course. Now, one insurance has it's like any other contract. It has term and condition, and you'll find one of term and condition is maybe probably there is issue of washman warranty. There is a issue of installing CCTV. So the fact that there is no forcible entry, there are other aspects that you can look into to corroborate and justify that yes, the incident did occur. Okay. Yes. So again, that is another category of insurance. When I look at the gadget you have here, they are basically the electronic gadget. So what it means is that your biggest wall is not even someone, a thief coming from outside and come and steal. Your main concern may be, assuming there is power fluctuation, what will happen to this equipment?
They'll get damaged.
They will definitely get damaged.
Yeah.
So what insurance covers that? Again, when you are choosing even your insurance partners, you must be choose someone who is competent and who understands the nitty-gritty in different, because insurance has got several subtle differences.
Yeah, and we'll get to that.
We'll
What
get
to look out for when, yeah.
what you need to,
Yeah.
what you need to look out for when you're choosing insurance. So again, when I look at, for example, Haki, we will be looking more on electronic insurance, because the gadget you have, the equipment that can either suffer electrical fault or even mechanical breakdown. So again, that brings in or introduce a different class of insurance. It's called electronic insurance. To basically look at electrical equipment, and especially those ones which have a software of learning the equipment, because such equipment, they are susceptible to electrical fault. So then, again, basing my example with the Hack FM, I find you got a team that go out for field mission. These people carry their gadgets, isn't it? So meaning most of the time these gadgets are not in the office. So what happens when those gadgets are out there? Because they can be stolen, isn't it? Somebody can just snatch a very expensive camera.
Yeah.
Or of course we saw what happened where even the media personnel were attacked and the equipment got damaged. So again, there is a different category of insurance which look after, those equipment which are not premises based. It's called all risk.
All risk.
So what it does is that it combines a number of policy. It combines what we call that is theft. It combines the fire. It combines transit losses, and importantly, it combines what we call accidental damage when that equipment is outside the office. So I would say insurance product, there are many. And I can't go without mentioning, again, when you look at this institution, the key important asset is the employee. So, and the employee, they are exposed both to occupational injury and non-occupational injury, isn't it? And beside that, there are also other, say, everybody can suffer, can fall ill. So again, they are insurance, which again, they are statutory in nature, because by law, you are mandated to have, that type of insurance. For example, WIBA, Work Injury Benefit Act. That is what WIBA stands for. It's mandatory insurance in Kenya that every employer must have that insurer to cover the employee against occupational injuries and illnesses. And by the way, do you know what will happen? Say, for example, in case of accidental fatal injury, yeah, the act mandates you that you have to pay that employee or his estate a compensation which is equivalent to 96 months salary. When you do your calculation, you can imagine the amount of money that an organization can be called upon to pay.
Yeah.
And sometimes you may find that maybe employee had traveled as a group. So the concentration, again, it becomes too much for an organization to bear. So I would therefore say insurance is quite wide. And maybe it's not something that probably you can exhaust. But how I would say is that the best way to look at it is that you can look at it into property insurance, rather the general insurance. You can look at it into three broad classification. You can look at it in terms of liability insurance. You can look at it in terms of property damage. And importantly, you can look at it from the loss of earning, that is business interruption. So in it, then you'll find there are so many other classifications. And for example, when you look at Upper Hill, they are building which are Mashulumi, tall building. Yeah. You can imagine the amount of investment in it. Suppose that building, when it's just complete and commissioned, tumble down. We are talking of millions of shares, billion probably. So there are again the other insurances which come to support such investors, such that they do not lose, their wealth in case of, acts which are beyond their control or which they can't avoid or control.
Yeah.
So again, then in this case, we are looking at issues, say for example, the construction or risk insurance. We had some major load during the flight. In Northeastern, we find several kilometers of loads being swept away. The amount that is involved to rehabilitate those loads, it's quite an expensive affair.
Yeah.
So insurance is wide.
Where do we classify health insurance, for example?
Health insurance will fall under the category of general insurance. And health insurance, in this case, you are looking at what is commonly known as medical insurance. So medical insurance, again, is a product which is available in the insurance market. And it comes hand in hand to supplement what we call, or complement what we call NHIF, which is basically a government scheme. So again, health insurance, it's available. There are different options which are there. You can choose, say for example, the normal coverage will cover what we call inpatient and outpatient. And I think where it pains most is when someone is admitted in the hospital. So again, you find the way the benefits are structured. Someone will look at inpatient, and then you choose a higher limit. But what I've known in this market is that sometimes people, when they purchase medical insurance, they are not taken through the policy coverage, because medical insurance is it has so many other conditions that somebody should be aware of when you're buying that insurance. For example, today you can buy an insurance cover for medical worth 5 million. But then in that 5 million, you realize it covers maybe acute condition. The only coverage you can get for 5 million, or rather your medical bill can be paid up to 5 million only on acute condition. Because what you'll find is that when it comes to now issues of chronic, say for example you have an existing condition, in medical cover they are called pre-existing, then you'll find that condition is sublimited. So meaning, in as much as you have coverage for 5 million, when it comes to now a certain condition, then you find they are capped. So for example, you have a cover for 5 million, but when it comes to pre-existing condition, and pre-existing condition or chronic, what you are talking of is those conditions which you will not heal. You'll got to know how to survive and manage them. Say for example, cancer, diabetes, or any other condition that you got to live with. Then you find the cover is capped to 1 million. So sometimes there is undue expectation from the person who purchased that cover. And you believe that you're covered up to 5 million, only to be told, by the way, because you are suffering, whatever you're being treated is a chronic condition, then what it means is that your policy cannot pay up to the full limit. And sometimes I have seen people being disadvantaged because you went to the hospital knowingly that you're covered up to 5 million, only to find that that 1 million was actually issued maybe the very first week. So medical will therefore fall under category of general insurance. Maybe it will be important to just mention one or two coverages that you can find under life section, so that it's balanced.
Sure.
The most common one is what we call group life. So a group life, it's a cover under life product, and it covers an employee against death. Death is the main important benefit. And when it comes to to group life, it covers employee both occupational and non-occupational injuries or death or illnesses. It doesn't discriminate. And maybe you can compare group life with what I said is a mandatory insurance, WIBA, Work Injury Benefit Act. When it comes to WIBA, it only covers you against what is occupational. So meaning, if today I suffer COVID, I would not be paid under WIBA, because that is not a condition that is triggered by what I do, isn't it?
Yeah, sure.
So when it comes to WIBA, any ailment that is covered, you got to demonstrate. The burden is actually on the patient to demonstrate that this condition, if not for my employment, then so you must show that correlation is actually related with what you do. And that is why, therefore, it's supposed to fall under WIBA. But when it comes now to group life, it doesn't discriminate. Death is death, as long as it's not suicidal, isn't it? Accident is an accident. It doesn't matter whether I was playing football or whatever it is, whether it was accidental. Again, that one does not discriminate. So that is why you find organization would prefer to give that particular policy, that is life, as a way of motivating staff, because Viva is mandatory, but group life is not mandatory. So how do I motivate employee? I mean, how do I attract employees? So again, it's by throwing such benefits. So group life, therefore, is an important product under life. You can also think of, say, for example, pension, where you save little for future.
Yeah.
Again, so that one are more inclined under life. Yes.
And now when you're out to take this insurance cover, say for property,
Yeah.
how do you decide I'll do fire and not theft, I'll do hold up and not the other one, or I'll do all risk? How do you get to decide which one?
Okay. You do, in most cases, then you rely with the advice you get from professional, that is the brokers, maybe the insurance agent sometimes. What should happen is I need to profile you. I need to profile you and identify which exposure you are more prone to. Then I need to profile you also in line with the asset you own. Once I do that, I'll be able now to tell you need this because you don't need this. For example, when I come here to this organization, what I see is mostly the electronic equipment, isn't it? Now, what you should know is that sometimes the insurance contract, what is covered under one policy, you'll find is excluded in another policy, right?
Yeah.
So, but you may find one policy may cover more than one aspect. For example, when I come here, the first policy that should strike me is electronic, because your equipment, they are basically electronics in nature. So I need to look at what do you have, and which is the most suitable cover for me to recommend. So it's therefore it's through profiling that I'm able to tell what insurance insurance cover one organization require compared to another. So once I do that, then I'll profile your risk. Then I'll do what we call program design. So I'll say, for example, like here, of course, the building is susceptible to fire. So obviously you'll need fire policy. Because when you go to fire, then over and above electronic equipment, you got other assets. For example, furnitures, isn't it?
Yeah.
So meaning if I insure electronic, I will insure an electronic equipment only. But what happened to your library, the books there, the furniture, the seats and all that? So then I will look at it, I'll say there is employee. So how do I take care of the employee? Then I will also look at, now, if I insure this fire, what business continuity plan does this organization have? Can it be able to restore its services immediately? If no, then do I need to recommend insurance for business interruption? So again, I recommend that cover. But then you find organization, they differ. Organization from one other organization, they differ. So the program that I may recommend, say for example, media liability, which would fall under media professional indemnity. We as a canopy insurance brokers, probably we might not require that type of insurance, isn't it?
Yeah.
Someone who has a hotel might not require that type of product because they are not exposed to such exposure. For us, maybe we may require professional indemnity for brokers, but as a hotel, I don't need professional because I'm not giving any advisory services, which are financial, which can cause financial harm, isn't it?
Yeah.
For hotel, maybe what I need is public liability, which cover food and drink, because that is where our main business is, isn't it? So to answer your question in a very precise way, I would say how you decide what insurance someone should purchase is first of all by profiling that person. Once you profile that person, then you are able to tell which exposure is surrounded by, and then you are able to design a program for that person.
As we conclude this segment, before we go into the break, so that we are done with this part, we are having protests in the country currently. Almost every week. Just last week that we didn't have, but I hear one major one is coming on Thursday. What will be your advice to business owners, especially in the CBD, because we have seen them come out with rungus and very big, to try and protect their businesses. So what kind of insurance will suit such a particular group of people?
Thank you for that. It's an important question, going by what is happening. You'll agree with me the kind of mayhem we have seen. No individual can protect himself against such. If these people decided to attack, you find yourself in a situation that you are either helpless, the situation you cannot control or avoid. So you leave it at the mercy. Now, what it means is that when it comes to, an event of that magnitude, it requires an extra duty of care, which is provided by the state. Now, if you look at the character of those protests, you'll find what has happened is that they have brought what we call breakdown in public order. So, and because of that breakdown, then you find it has created a conducive environment for people to loot, for people to touch building and all that, for people to be pickpocket and all that. And why this is happening is that when you look at the ratio of maybe the police vis-a-vis the protester, it cannot cover these people adequately. But the most important point that we need to understand about what is happening is that when you look at the normal property insurance, that is fire insurance, it covers what we call riot and strike. It covers malicious damage, and it covers even malicious damage. But when we look at the malicious damage and riot and strike, which is envisaged under fire property, the threshold is totally different from what is happening now.
Really?
Yeah.
How?
How is because when we are talking of fire, we do not look at people fighting for a political goal. And that is the differentiator. What is happening has actually been, first of all, it was clamor for withdrawal of finance bill, potential finance bill, which actually did happen, isn't it?
Yeah.
So that one, you'll find that these people are actually pushing a political motive. It's a political activity, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because when you want to withdraw a finance bill, that is no longer an ordinary issue. It's become actually a political issue because it's a state which is supposed to amend those laws, isn't it? Or withdraw such finance bill.
Yeah.
So what we are looking at is now the motive. What is the motive behind this protest? The motive is one, people are pushing for a political goal, isn't it? One was withdrawal of finance bill, which has happened. The other one was dissolution of not parliament, what is it called? The cabinet.
Cabinet, yeah.
And the cabinet actually it was dissolved and reconstituted, isn't it?
Yeah.
So these are political events in nature, isn't it? So therefore, whatever protests which are happening, the motive is one. It's basically political in nature, and people want particular goals to be achieved, which partly have been achieved.
Yeah.
Now, normal fire will cover what is happening, and only if the motive was not political. So assuming it's university riots, that one is not more, political. If it's issue to do with the labor issue, labor disturbance, people want for a hike maybe on their salaries, that one is not political. But when people are pushing for a political goal, like what is happening, then you realize, in as much as you have that fire policy, which covers that property ordinarily against riot and strike, the magnitude that we are seeing now is of political nature, and therefore anybody who had a fire will not be paid. They ought to now buy what we call political risk. And this is the thing when it comes to insurance. We got to look at the scale and the character of an event.
Wait a minute, Mr. Joseph. I don't know whether I'm getting you right.
Yes.
That I have insured my property against fire, theft, yeah,
Yes. Malicious damage.
malicious
riot.
damage,
Yeah.
and riot.
Yeah.
That it is not enough that this building was burnt down. The reason behind this building being burnt down also matters. That is what you're saying.
Exactly. The motive. What was the motive behind that building being torched? Here, we are looking at a political goal. People are pushing for a political goal. And therefore, anything that is political is not covered under the conventional insurance. So for you to be covered, protected against such riot, you got to go now to an insurance cover that covers political activities. And remember,
Why will it not just cover everything? You know, if it is a fire, just cover a fire. Forget about where it came from and what was the motive behind it.
yeah, you see
Because
now.
what is the point of insuring altogether?
Okay.
Yeah.
So the insurance cover, there are principles. There are principles because we are governed by principles. When it comes to like now, nane,
Yeah.
it's foreseeable that property will be damaged, isn't it? It's foreseeable that goons probably will invade a genuine protest. Now, it is easy now being from unforeseeable to foreseeable. The insurance will not cover anything that is foreseeable or which is obvious. And the other thing is the magnitude. You see, insurance is a commercial entity, isn't it? They are for profit, isn't it?
Yeah.
So when you look at the magnitude of what is happening, it's not something that can be left to a commercial institution. That is why it falls within the province of the state. It is the state which is supposed to provide that extra duty of care. However, the insurance company that have come up with political products. And when we talk of political products, they cover a variety of political activities. We look at the issue of terrorism. We look at the issue of sabotage. We look at the issue of malicious damage. We look at the issue of riots and strike. We look at the issue of rebellion, revolt, and insurrection and all that. And then we also look at the issue of civil war. So what is happening, it falls within what I would say is riots. But what is the motive? The motive is political. Because the motive is political, in as much as I have a fire policy which cover normal riot and strike, this one is excluded in the insurance policy because it falls under, now the motive is known. And then the other thing is you got to look at the widespread of these protests. They are actually countrywide. So meaning an individual person, you know, you need to be you're treated as if you're not insured when it comes to insurance. But are you able to protect yourself against such protest? If these people are able to land down, say for example, parliament, they overland the security system which are in place.
Yeah.
They go and touch. Then it means that then even if you had ordinary washerman, they will be overpowered, isn't it? So it means therefore it's something that should be protected by the state. But then when you look at way back 2007, we had people who were displaced. We had people whose property were destroyed, isn't it?
Yeah.
So now, when you look at the way state compensates, up to date, there are people who have never been actually restored to where they were, or maybe probably given land elsewhere. So meaning, when you look at the state, if you wait for the state to compensate, okay, something that will happen, but sometimes it can take a longer time, isn't it? So that is why you find then there are insurances which have come up with a product called political violence to take care of such eventualities. And so if you do not have that insurance, then you should be advised that your fire policy might not cover.
Yeah.
Because, as I mentioned, when we try to differentiate whether something is normal protest or whether it's political, one of the tests is we look at the scale and the character. An ordinary protest, do you find military being deployed? No. Can you deploy military to quell a university strike? It has never happened, isn't it?
Yeah.
A normal.
It happened in our country.
So meaning, so that reaffirm the position that whatever is happening is more of political.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is when the president was actually dissolving the cabinet, he alluded to the fact that whatever is happening, there are people who want to sponsor anarchy.
Yeah.
Anarchy is political. Because what you are trying to do is to change the system of government, isn't it? That is political. So even when you look at even the government itself, have pronounced itself that what is happening is therefore political. So meaning the cover that is suitable to cover issues that are of political nature is therefore political activity.
So that falls under character or scale.
Yeah, so the scale, it's countrywide. The character, you find that there are so many things which affirm the fact that this is political. Because when you look at it in the issue of deployment of military, when you look at the issue of the parliament being banned, normal strike will not lead to that. When you look at dissolution of the cabinet, all these, they build up to confirm that what is happening is purely political in nature. It's not normal latent strike. So what happens to insurance is that for us as an insurance company, what they are required to do is to demonstrate that a state of affair did exist that is envisaged in the policy. So once they demonstrate that, there is what we call reversal burden. Now it will be now hacky to prove that what happened was not political. It has nothing to do with the politics.
Yeah.
It is basically a normal occurrence. But how do you overturn such threshold? And yet the policy has recognized that the act need not be dialect.
Yeah.
It will also look at dialect and indirect. For example, because of the nane, of course, there are going to be breakdown of public order. Because of breakdown of public order, then it means people will take advantage. Whether they're involved in the push for, people will take advantage. So indirectly, that has created a conducive environment for people to loot, isn't it? And therefore, the insurance will therefore not respond if you had the normal insurance for fire and burglary.
Okay.
Yes.
We will come back to talk about now whatever I have insured against has occurred.
Okay.
What do I go from here? And what are those instances that an insurance company will decline to compensate me? We'll have that discussion on the other side of this break. I am with Joseph Gitau from Canopy Insurance, and we're talking about insurance covers in general. Stick around for that discussion and keep those questions coming. Talk to me on Hack FM1 on X, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook, or you can call me on 07993882237 or 07503882237, or you can text me on WhatsApp on 0791 740 453. It is 15 minutes to 9 a.m.